Did you think I was kidding about that media empire shit? Because I definitely was not. Hi, I'm Spike.
I'm Kel.
I'm Amanda, and I hate media empires. So this is a very important point in our
We're
friendship.
gonna have to destroy you, Spike. Yeah, this might be the end of friendship.
Oh God, no wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just fucking trying to live the dream over here and do everything I ever dreamed about doing. And I'm really fucking excited about this week in particular, because as both y'all know, I'm certain Iron Circus had a pretty big week this week.
Yeah, my shit's on IO9 right now.
Yeah, in case you folks haven't seen, and there's a chance you haven't seen because it just happened today, we announced the latest Iron Circus anthology. It's something like a lot of Iron Circus anthologies has been in the works behind the scenes for
Oh, I did
months and
change the
months and months.
title.
And it's called Failure to Launch, a tour of ill-fated futures. And it's basically just a collection of people who dreamed big and then immediately face planted directly onto the concrete. And I kind of admire those people. Like obviously it's a concept that I've been wanting to do a book for a while. I admire people who dream big even if they fuck up horribly. And Kel
Yeah.
actually did the art chores for a story by Ryan North. And what was that story about again, Kel?
It is about a guy who thought he could make a floating city that's powered by windmills that he somehow got up in the clouds. And other nonsense.
Very
He wanted
realistic,
basically he wanted a fully automated city. And he dreamed this up in the 1800s.
very achievable, very normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, and this is in the quote that I gave David High for all the press stuff, is
Mhm.
like him saying wind can power all our electricity.
Mhm.
Like, well, yes, you couldn't do it in the 1800s. Like, now we have wind power. Like, so that's a thing that I think is important with this anthology is while they failed at the time, a lot of them were like the first step to having a thing become real
Yeah, although some of them were just spectacular,
in
incredibly
the
wacky
1800s.
failures, I have to say. Like my favorite ones are the ones that are just like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Oh, my favorites are the people who the tech wasn't up to date with their dreams. I think those are the most
Yeah,
interesting.
like communists.
Um, cause um one of the one of the things that we gave an example of the types of stories we're looking at
Mhm.
were one of H Bomber Guy's videos about a guy who tried to make a gaming system that is basically like Alexa.
But
Um
when did he try and do it?
he tried to do it in like the early 80s. So while he
Oh
kind of got
yeah,
it to
that
work,
one.
he also like it cost $6,000 in
In 80s
80s
money.
money. So that's like $15,000 now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um
And this was a time when all electronics were like really expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's like people were not gonna buy
Speaking of expensive,
um
no, I'll wait. I'll wait.
so yeah, so I think those are more interesting um because you can see how they had like an idea and then someone completed it later.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones in the entire, and I like this one even though it's a very, by the standards of the book, it's a very modest
Mhm.
story. It's not talking about someone's grand idea, but I like it because I like to imagine this book in middle school libraries and a bunch of middle schoolers picking this book up and reading this story and it influencing them for the rest of their fucking life. It is the story that it starts out starring like a bunch of little kids. And one of the kids is constantly being swept up into apocalyptic, the world is coming to an end stories. And so, if I'm remembering correctly, it starts off with "Oh my god, Y2K is coming.
No,
All these."
Y2K is the second
The
one.
second one? The
Um,
first one is what? Year 2000? What's the first second one?
because they're really little and they're a teen during Y2K, so I forget what the first one is.
Because I thought it was
Um,
Mayan Apocalypse,
Uh,
Y2K,
mine, the mine thing was 2012.
okay.
yeah,
But
because it's her going through multiple things, so
yeah, she
it's
goes
I
through
I
forget what the
remember
first
3.
one
that
is,
because
but we do get Y2K, and then we get Mayan Apocalypse, and yeah,
I
so
remember that the Maya calendar thing was 2012 because that was the year me and my brother almost ruined Christmas.
But but what I like about it is she's surrounded by friends who are all like, "Oh, wow, we're just kids living our kid life," and then, of course, they grow up to young adults, and they just kind of look at each other and roll their eyes every time. It's like, "How can you even care about that? Don't you know the world's going to end in 15 days?" or whatever, and I'm like, "Yes, yes, indoctrinate the children to be skeptical of apocalyptic rhetoric." Yeah.
See,
oh, see, I also like in the same one, it is what a white Christian cult was saying the end of the world is coming,
oh, that one.
but then like next door is the I forget what nation it is, but one of the Native American nations is like going about their business
Mhm.
while there's this prepper apocalyptic cult going on. And so it's like a page of the cult, a page of the Native Americans, a page of the cult, a page of the Native Americans. It's like back and forth.
Yeah.
Um,
My brother bought into a lot of that stuff, which is why that Christmas was almost ruined because I could not fucking stop. Like, you're not serious, right?
Oh
You're
god.
not because he's like 1 year younger than me, and I was absolutely, and that was like 2012, so I was
Oh.
absolutely an adult. So he was absolutely an adult, and so he
Oh.
mentioned it while he was sitting with his girlfriend, and he mentioned it, and she was just smiling next to him, like, just. Why are you smiling next to him while he talks about how like, oh yeah, you 2012 world's gonna end? It's like, what? You just said that so casually. What are you talking about? And then he just kept talking like, "Oh yeah, that's why I'm gonna." He just talked about his prepper stuff, and she's like smiling and nodding, and I'm like, "Going on, what happened to you?
Oh.
Where did this come from?" So then my mom's like, "Oh, drop it. You're arguing again." And then like I couldn't. So like dinner comes around, and I'm like, "Hey, were you serious? Is this one of your jokes? Because I know you like to do jokey jokes." And he's like, "No,
Yeah.
really. It's real. It's really important. Like eventually
Oh.
the US is gonna to like devolve into like I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know what
okay,
terminology he was
Spike,
using then.
Mhm.
you're correct. It does start with Y2K.
So there. So there.
Anyway, so long story short, I was the instigator. I understand that I should have let it go, but I just refused to believe that my brother believed the world was gonna end very, very casually.
Yeah,
But he did.
I have honestly, if I was one of those people who was going for a PhD, I would probably be thinking about doing my thesis on sort of the psychology of end time believers because one of the things that I have noted because I fucking love disaster tourism. I love like going
Good
to
part.
the web pages and the forums and the subreddits where people like genuinely believe this shit. And
to
the thing that seems to unite all the various end time predictions is the elation and relief people seem to feel when they are talking about how the world's gonna end in 6 months, and
um
that fascinates
in
me.
defense of people who got caught up in Y2K,
Mhm.
Y2K was actually a problem, but because it got hyped up, they fixed it
Yeah,
before it was. Like, so,
yeah,
And
um,
people, I know people being like, "Oh, well, nothing happened." It's like I know like nothing happened because it got like
because they
they
fixed
got
the
in front of it.
problem
They
before,
fixed it.
yeah,
Had
like,
they not fixed
yeah,
it, it would yeah, it would have been a big
yeah,
problem. But they got it.
yeah,
yeah.
and again, this is one of those sort of la problema es capitalismo kind of issues because we live in a world with a 24-hour news cycle and multiple completing competing news networks, and these news networks are funded by advertisers and they need high viewership to get the best advertiser funding, and high viewership is easy, like they have hacked the thing that makes high viewership possible, and that is instilling fear and outrage as much as possible, especially when nothing warrants it. And so of course there's going to be these sort of breathless, overhyped reporting on, "Did you know that in the year 2 every computer will shut down, planes will fall out of the sky, and also your car will immediately stop running, and the government will just absolutely poof out of existence," and and it's just like, "Really? Like, fucking really? Really?" It's like, so much of this is motivated, and I know I'm sounding like a fucking broken record here, but so much of this is actually at the root of it motivated by capitalism, the pushing
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
apocalyptic rhetoric, because also it's not just the news networks. Okay, I'm old, so I'm gonna throw it back a little bit, and y'all are just gonna have to indulge me.
I don't have to do anything.
There
No, we're done with this conversation. Moving on.
there was a couple of televangelists that were very prominent in the '80s named Jim and Tammy Faye Baker,
Oh yeah,
right?
I know about them.
And yeah, everybody fucking loves Tammy Faye. She's crazy. But
I do not.
Jim is still around as far as I know, and Jim has shifted 10,000% over into apocalyptic prepper bullshit. You can find clips of him kind of on Christian broadcasting saying, "Yes, yes, the end times are coming. The government is going to fall and everything will be anarchy. The cities will burn. And it's very important you buy this fucking Home Depot tub full of dried porridge so you survive the end times." And they like literally are selling every single thing he's on is like a fucking infomercial for buckets of prepper powder, like shit where if you add water, it'll turn into chili con carne. And that is all he fucking does. It's like, again, la problema es capitalismo. It's again him trying to fucking milk what are by and large frightened old people who really just they're mainlining Fox News and they're
Well, there's
mainlining
also the
religious
fact that it
programming and
does.
they're mainlining fucking the hysterical radio programs, and they really think this shit is happening.
Yeah, it does kind of coincide with a lot of like beliefs that are already there too. It kind of
Oh
slots
yeah.
in a little too well, unfortunately. My
Mhm.
now that I live in Chicago, I get
Oh, here it
calls.
comes.
I've had to talk to my mom. It's not my mom. She's not the problem. But I get calls from her because she gets calls from my grandmother panicking about me.
Oh
And my grandma will call
no.
my mom panicking about like, did you check on Amanda today? Is she okay? Blah blah blah. My mom's like, yeah, she's fine. Why don't you call her? Why don't you text her yourself? It's like, oh, but I was watching the news and I'm just real worried about her. So mom goes, fine. So my mom calls me. She's like, Amanda, what happened in Chicago today? And I was like, what do you mean? What happened in Chicago today? Chicago's the third largest city in the USA. What do
A
you
lot of
mean?
That
things
What?
happened in
that
Chicago
So
today.
reminds me. Okay,
so
so oh, finish your story. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've had to give my mom talk like, Mom, what happened is Nanny only watches Fox News. Fox News has a hate boner for Chicago. If
Yeah.
there's a house fire in Chicago, the local Texas Fox News will report on it. Just you have to take anything Nanny says about Chicago with a grain of salt. She will tell you the whole city's burning down and it will
Yeah.
be a house fire. Just
It's a Chicago is a hard blue
So
state, and it'll stay a hard blue state with a fucking Democratic supermajority, and that is literally why Fox News hates it. Like, it fucking
uh,
sucks that I have to, like, think about and say things like this, but when it was the '90s and late '80s, and crime was going through the roof in literally every metropolitan area in the United States, nobody gave a shit about Chicago. But crime has dropped precipitously, not just in Chicago, but in kind of every major fucking American city. Like, it has fallen off a cliff. You can
isn't
go and look
Nashville
this
uh,
number
shit
one in
up.
violent
Yeah.
crime?
Huh? Say what? What was that, Amanda?
I was just saying, isn't Nashville number one in violent crime?
I
I
mean,
thought it
probably.
was Baltimore, but
I
that
mean, we can
also.
look it up, but at the same time,
It
even
doesn't
the
matter.
cities that are air quotes number 1 in violent crime, it's nothing compared to how it was in the '90s. Like,
Nope.
literally fucking nothing.
Yeah.
But what were you
But
trying to say, Cal?
suddenly,
So
like,
so
one
I
group.
I I was saying that, Amanda, the calls that your mom is getting from your grandma sound very similar to the calls that my mom used to make to me. Only hers were not Fox News based. They were just general paranoia on my mom's part.
Mhm.
I was the first kid to move out of the house or move out of the Massachusetts in general. So I remember getting calls like, "All of Georgia is on fire. Are you okay?"
Yeah.
um cuz like there was like a wildfire or something in Georgia at the time, and I was like, well, Georgia's a big state. I don't know. There would be times where there was a wildfire and my mom would call me in a panic, um because she heard about the wildfire somehow, and I would be like, I didn't notice any wildfire, and then I would step outside and the sky would be orange, and I'm like, oh well, I guess there is a wildfire nearby. Like,
Yeah. And
um
I oh, I'm sorry,
yeah.
Jose, is it's el problema, I'm sorry, I haven't taken a Spanish lesson since high school, my bad.
El problema?
I guess it's not la
No,
problema?
it isn't. I don't. Well,
I just assumed because it ended
depends.
with an A, I'm sorry. But,
Depends.
Sacco Books is saying, "My main impression of Chicago comes from where when I made a layover at O'Hare, and one of the first things I saw was a McDonald's with 4 American flags hanging out front." That is also an unfair impression of Chicago, I swear, that is also unfair. And I'm
Uh,
Canadian, and I hardly ever hear about Chicago news, so that's the main takeaway I have about it. Chicago, the first thing that's really important to remember about Chicago is it has a massive inferiority complex because it's not LA and it's not New York. And when foreigners are like quizzed about American cities, 9 times out of 10, they don't even know Chicago exists, and literally none of them
Yeah.
can find it on the map. And that fucks Chicago up super hard and super bad because because this is a nice city, but like no one knows or cares about it. So it tries twice as hard. It's like the second born, you know what I mean? It just fucking tries harder than the firstborn, who is just amazing by but for existing, you know, so it tries
God, I
harder.
wish that was the case.
and
I'm the
and
first.
I
I'm the
I can
firstborn, and I'm like sad. And our secondborn was like,
mhm.
"I'm going to never live in the same place for more than a month, and I'm never going to tell you where I am. Goodbye."
And Chicago is it has that vibe. It has that try hard vibe, which is why it keeps trying to get the Olympics. That's definitely news here. I don't know if
God,
it's
I
news
hope
anywhere.
they don't will get it. I don't
Oh
want
god, I don't
them.
want the fucking Olympics here
I
at
don't
all. But
want them. I know I've only
that
been
is
here 2 months, but I don't want them.
yeah, that is literally a thing it's been trying to do for at least 10 years, trying to get the Olympics. It has a bomb ass train system. I fucking love the train system here. It's incredibly walkable, and the weather is probably the only real downside. Like it gets really fucking cold here.
yeah, it's
Really
too stupid cold in
yeah,
Chicago.
I
That's
know
why
it's a
I don't
deal
live
breaker
there.
for a lot of people. I know
I
it's a
like
deal
it.
breaker for a lot of people, but
Been great.
I encourage anyone curious about Chicago, and, like, I'm fucking stumping for it because 'cause I've lived in multiple cities all over the US. I've visited many cities in the US. I
Spike loves Chicago, but she won't leave her like home to experience it in the flesh.
I'm busy!
I'm going to woo
Spike
you out
loves
of.
Chicago, because, uh, things will be come to her house,
Yes.
easily.
I
Yeah.
That's why Spike
I'm
loves
going to spend the
Chicago.
next year leaving little snacks outside your front door to lead you to social events to hang out with me.
Yeah. The
I'm going
thing
to
about
trap you in a box.
Yeah, but, like, one of the things I love about it here, and it's like, again, I'm no shade on anybody who lives anywhere else, but number 1, all of California is kind of out for me. I will never live in California. The house prices are fucking ridiculous. I don't intend on being a lifelong renter. The natural disasters are fucking crazy, and they keep happening.
I
And
will say this is a
also
big generalization because this is a very long state.
yes, but at the same time, I'm talking about places I would consider living in California. Like, I'm not gonna live out in the orchards. You know? I need to live in a city,
Okay.
and if I'm going to
I
live in a
mean,
city
Sacramento is still a city, but,
yeah, but
people just don't
still,
talk about it.
yeah, but the thing is,
Um,
all of it's all a moot point anyway, because 'cause y'all are I love you with all my heart. Lots of friends live in California, but you're all gonna fall in the sea. I mean, you just are, and I
Not
don't
in a
wanna be there for that.
It's not gonna happen all
that's
at once, Spike, and it's
It's
not
going to
gonna be a
happen within our lifetimes.
surprise.
The super quake is coming within our lifetimes. Sorry, it just is. And
and who's getting into doomsday, like,
I'm not saying it'll
paranoia
end the
now?
world. Here's the thing. Keep in mind, I am 44, and I remember with sort of crystal clarity, there was a quake in California one year, and there was a double-decker highway, and the
Yes.
top layer pancaked down on the
Yes.
bottom layer, just bam, 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 bam,
Yes,
bam,
yes.
bam, bam, bam.
Spike, I know that you're older than me. I get that. But I'm
Yeah.
35. You're not 20 years older than me.
Well, I don't know how aware you would be of, like, news television, you know? Like,
I watch news more than I watch cartoons. So,
oh, okay. Well, but
because
that's
that
the
was
thing.
considered educational. Current
Yeah, but
events. Woo!
I just remember, the news reports because, again, the news reports are they're
No, I
capitalized.
do think Chicago. I do think California is going to get really bad quakes, but like
Yeah, I do. I absolutely believe that,
that is a
and
huge that just geologically speaking, that is too big an event to just happen. There's not a lot of precedent for it for that large of a landmass. I do think we will get something catastrophic that will change a lot
oh,
of
absolutely.
infrastructure. It's not
I
going to fall
absolutely
into the ocean.
The earthquake is
I'm
one
I'm
thing.
I'm
Falling
exaggerating
to
for
the sea is
I am
Amanda's new
being
disgust
I'm
sound
exaggerating
just
for
dropped.
humorous effect. I don't think it's going to actually fall into the sea, y'all. But it's one of those deals
Spike,
where
it's one of those things where you say it enough that I wondered.
no, it's funny to say, is why I
Okay,
say it.
that's all. All right.
But
It's
here's
just you
the
say
thing,
that so often. I'm like,
and I'm going to this is going to
do you
be a
think that?
segue. This is going to be a segue because I find it incredibly funny. But I follow a lot of YouTuber tea channels, which is basically let's talk some shit about this famous YouTuber and keep abreast of all of their happenings. And a common feature of YouTuber tea channels is LOL, this YouTuber told us they bought this mansion. It turns out they're renting it for $25,000 a month and now they can't afford it. And when you dig a little deeper, it's because like nothing in California is affordable, like nothing. Nothing anywhere anyone wants to live, I should say. And so you see a lot of people who technically really like they should own a home at this point, but instead they're paying 25, 35, $50,000
Well,
rent.
that's
They're
that's
throwing
life,
fish
man. That's
they're
everywhere.
shoveling $50,000 into a bottomless well
Yeah.
every month, and it's like, "Holy fuck, you are not at all thinking about what you're gonna be like when you are 50 and you are no
Oh,
longer
none of them
cute."
are. That's why, like, I always talk, like, people like, why is it like these influencers who are always doing these various scams? And it's because
Yeah,
they don't, like, they
yeah,
don't have a business. None of
yeah,
them do. They might have, like, some kind of incorporation, they might have branding,
yeah,
they might have, like, a company, but none of them have a business. Like, they don't produce anything. Like,
yeah,
they are personalities who just don't make anything. Like, there's a lot of
yeah,
people who make YouTube stuff and they're famous on YouTube. But if a YouTube competitor came up, they could transfer their stuff over. If they had to go to like a Nebula type site, they could.
yeah,
People like, like Logan Paul and those people, they can't do that because they
yeah,
don't have anything they're actually selling. That's why they do a little bit of everything, including scams, because I think there is as the older they get, there is the, oh, we didn't plan. We have no
yeah,
business plan. Throw
exactly,
shit at the
like,
wall, take money where you can.
I'm not shy about saying I've said this multiple times, probably on this podcast as well as on Twitter, where it's like, Iron Circus isn't just me trying to do what I love for the rest of my life. It is also my retirement plan. And my air quotes retirement plan is just they find me dead at my desk one day, or one day I'm just fucking fed up and I sell it. And it gets owned by like Embracer Group or whatever is Embracer Group 20 years from now. And that's the plan because I I'm trying my darndest to think long term because I have been traumatized. I have been emotionally scarred by going to cons in my 20s and seeing those artist alleys full of elderly artists doing $50 sketches trying to pay their nursing home bills.
Oh, I was going to
And
say, Spike, that'll be me even if I have money.
and I'm just like that's not gonna be me. And like 90% of my professional career in comics has been me going, okay, that's not gonna be me. How do I make sure that's never me?
I have no
And
plan.
Amanda.
Uh,
My only
Amanda
plan
and I
is,
are millennials. We're never retiring.
yeah,
Yeah.
my only plan,
Unless we overthrow our retirement plan is overthrow
I'm too
capitalism.
tired. I can't do it.
Yeah.
My
Amanda can't throw
only
over
my only retirement plan, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate my only retirement plan
Mhm.
But the only retirement plan I have is that the people who are supposed to die before me do die before me, and I hate that. I
Wow.
hate it. It's just
Golly.
it's j- it's something my family like. I don't got a lot of family, but the family I have, I'm like
Mhm.
only I am I'm at this point where I am none of my family has money. But
Uh-huh.
I am only independent adult child of my generation
Wow.
for a certain line of my family.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that's going to be in my name when older
Oh,
people
hey.
older than me die. And it's that they talk about it very like, isn't that nice? I'm like, I guess.
Make sure to read those tweets I posted when someone asked, "Hey, Twitter, what would you do if you won the lottery?" Because it's applicable to inheritances too.
No, but here's the thing. I don't. It sucks though. It sucks that like it's nice that that's there, and realistically, these people are supposed to die before me. But I fucking hate it. I
Tina Bot
hate it
says,
with every bone in my body that my mom is like, it's okay. I'm reassured that when I die, you'll have like this and this and this. And it's like, cool, cool. The
You're gonna
only
get all
time I'll
those
ever have
wolves.
security is when
yeah,
my mother is not alive. Great. I love it. Thanks. But it's security my
Uh,
mom doesn't even have now. That's what's the big
yeah.
bummer. My mom doesn't have that security now. So it's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah. Tina Bach says, "Do you 3 have any advice on where to start making a long-term plan like that?" The only one I think is
No.
just
universally
told you that
the
my retirement plan is overthrow capitalism. So,
yeah, the only thing I have that I consider universally applicable is start planning as early as possible. Like I said, I was in my 20s when I was all like, "How am I going to deal with one day, hopefully, if I'm lucky, making it to
I
65?"
tried
And
that. It didn't work.
and everything's going to be very sort of situational. I know there are people whose big plan is I'm going to spend the years between 20 and 50 making as many graphic novels as possible. And hopefully by then, by living modestly, I will have residuals and royalties and I'll put a third of my royalties into a fucking um I don't even know. Like, I'll buy bonds with it or I'll buy stock with it, and I'll just let it accrue and mature, and then when I hit 65 and Social Security kicks in, hopefully that combined with that, I'll be fine. Like, that's a very individual plan, that's what some people do. Some people start a business like I'm doing,
Um, I'd also like to
but it's
apologize
kind
in
of
advance.
huh?
I al This always happens, and I have like a anxiety attack after we end recording because I'm like, oh my god, I was so obnoxious. So
Stop
no,
it!
no, no. I'm apologizing in advance because I am more hyper than usual.
Oh,
Stop it.
everyone in the chat, don't you love it when Amanda is very
No, shut
animated and
up.
sharing her
No.
thoughts and her
I
experiences?
go overboard sometimes. Stop it.
No, you
I'm
fucking
apologizing in advance
don't.
because I am more hyper than usual.
Amanda, you wanna fucking fight? You wanna
I
fight?
look today. I got high and made a nest, and it was very, very nice. And that's why I'm hyper.
Today I got high.
I'm just
Welcome to
explaining.
Chicago, Amanda.
I
Welcome to
got high
Chicago.
today, and I made a lovely little blanket nest, and it was very relaxing. And then I
I'm
drank a
so glad
coffee,
to
and now
hear.
I'm here. So I'm just saying, I am wired right now.
I got high today. See. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to fucking Chicago.
I
Did you go
did
to one
that
of
before
the
I got here. I just did it in secret so my mommy didn't get mad.
Did you go to one of the nice dispensaries?
Not yet because I still have stuff I still have
Oh.
my secret weeds. I
Mm.
haven't burned through them all. That's how sparing I was with them. I was so
I have
delicate with my secret
I
weeds.
have Lidzel in my chat saying we love Amanda unconditionally, and that
Yes.
is true.
You
Fuck yeah, we love
shouldn't.
Um,
but yeah,
okay, fine. My
I would
condition is Amanda, I will love you unless you commit a sexual assault.
I will
yo!
keep that in the back of my
That's
mind
You heard it here
always.
first. Kel is down to be friends with Amanda forever if Amanda commits multiple murders.
Yes.
yes. Murder, there might be extenuating circumstances to the murder, so that's like, you
Aman
know,
Amanda drives
maybe
a preschool
maybe
bus
it's
off of a
okay.
cliff, and Kel is still besties.
Yeah. Listen, I was saying it's not unconditional. If Amanda committed several sex crimes, then that that's the
I guess
condition.
that's my deterrent.
Yeah.
This is my anti-drug.
Mm. Amanda
uh,
literally sets fire to a nunnery. Kel is cool.
I mean, Fuck the Catholic
Nunneries
Church.
suck.
Yeah.
They sound all nice and cute, but they're not.
I actually here's the thing. This is very off topic, but one of my favorite things
Off
in the world
topic. What was the
is
topic?
good question. But there's this sort of thing I like to like point out to people because there are a few people out there who like they don't
God,
make
that was
this
a loud
connection.
laugh.
And when they do, I think a lot of pieces of the puzzle fall into place for them. And that is there is an extreme scarcity right now of people entering, like women taking the cloth, I guess you could say, in Catholicism in the United States and European countries. Like there's just fewer and fewer and fewer of them every year. And a lot of people choose to interpret that as, oh, we're losing religions. Like, no, no. It's just that women have options now.
I
If
mean,
you
it's
were a
both.
woman,
It's
well,
both.
it's both, but
Yeah.
it's primarily women have options now. Because
Yeah.
once upon a time, if you're a woman and you didn't want to get married and didn't want to have children, or you were queer, your option was the nunnery, period. And that's where a lot of nuns come from because they are women who just straight up do not want to enter into a marital contract where they become the property of their husband and all kinds of horrible shit can happen to them, but it's okay because their husband perpetrates it. They didn't want to have kids for whatever fucking reason. Maybe it's because they wanted to study. Maybe it's because they wanted to fucking garden. Who knows? And also, they just weren't into dudes and they could not bear the thought of a life where they were fucking a dude for the rest of their life. They just became nuns. And now those
Um,
women, all those women,
yeah.
they don't have to become a nun if that's what they want to do with their life. So they don't.
So it is partly uh that, like you said, but part of it is also losing religion.
That is also a part of it, but it's
Religion is on a
Yeah.
steep decline in America specifically.
love to see it. Love to see it.
I mean,
Yeah.
What's
I'm
fascinating to
I'm
me
not
is
I'm not against religion or nothing. I just
in
hate,
theory, I am not
I
against
just
religion.
hate the people. I
Yeah.
hate how authoritarian it gets.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. If you are a religious person and it brings you comfort and peace, and you go home and you read the Bible and you try to draw lessons from it that parallel your life, and you participate in meditation that you call prayer, and you practice introspection and self love in that way, if that is how you do, cool, keep it up, have fun. The problem is religion by its very fucking nature, lends itself to authoritarian
Yeah.
oppression. By its very fucking nature. And because it is an
Oh yeah, we've
ideological
dived into
thing,
this before, definitely.
but
Depends on the religion.
Yeah.
90% of religions which are popular have this issue.
In the West, but yeah.
Not just in the West, no. There is authoritarian Hindu right now in
Yeah, there
India, and it's a
is.
huge fucking
Mhm.
problem.
But
But
no,
the
like we know.
yeah,
We know,
but
we've talked about
I
this
will get
already.
sad.
yeah, but it's just a thing. It's just a thing that I think
Yeah,
about
it
a lot.
is.
Like in theory, I seriously don't have a problem with religion. In practice, I have a massive problem. So
Um,
the downswing in religious belief, love it. Chef kiss, more please.
I watched 2
uh,
anime this week.
Okay, I'm going to cautiously ask which one because if it's one of a few, I'm going to ask you not talk about it. Which ones?
Okay, I watched the full first season of Gundam Wing Witch from Mercury.
Please don't talk about that. I want to see it. Please don't talk
All I
about
will
it.
say is that you will have moments where you're like, is this actually a Gundam show? I promise you. It is a Gundam show. You
but
will not be
Spike,
disappointed.
have you seen many a Gundam?
I have been working my way through the very first Gundam show.
I'm just saying there's a
Okay.
lot of talk around the show and people are like, this is not a Gundam show. It's nothing. No. They do not understand subtext or nuance. It is absolutely a Gundam show, and by the end, oh, by the way, you don't make the same mistake I did. The very last episode of the first season, watch the post credits scene.
Oh,
You
okay.
might miss it. They do not
Oh,
indicate
I
it's
always
coming.
dip. I always dip at the credits. So
Exactly.
thank you for
Okay. Again, I'm gonna say nothing. The post credits scene at the last episode of the first season is very much a, oh, did you forget this was a Gundam show? Were you feeling warm and fuzzy?
Yeah, oh, Kristen Cheney is
Uh,
No.
saying a lot of Gundam fans don't
No.
understand Gundam. Ain't that the fucking truth? Like, it's a whole
uh,
meme, it's a literal meme. People who
Like
watch
people are like,
Gundam
oh, if
speaking
there's too much like high school like drama and interpersonal stuff with all these teenagers, I'm like, you weren't paying attention. The entire fucking season, I was like, I was tweeting about it, and I'm like, my concern meter is climbing. I am
okay,
so concerned. Like, if all you
on
saw was teenagers having teen drama, you were not seeing the same thing as me.
Mhm.
Spike,
Yes.
on the topic of, that meme,
Yes.
Amanda and I were talking about it, Gundam with Kevin the other day.
Mhm.
And Kevin shared what I think might be the best take on that meme,
Yeah?
um, which I'm gonna post in our chat now.
Okay, let me go take a
Oh yeah,
look.
that thing.
Right.
And
Media companies sending mixed messages by using the aesthetic and visceral appeal of war for profit while preaching. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, but at its heart, I mean, especially if you wanna go back to the old times, the long, long ago, and watch, like, OG Gundam, it is not
Oh man,
remotely
okay,
awful.
RJ, never watch a Gundam hoping for two characters to stay together. Never. You
Yeah,
don't do that.
yeah.
Again, that's why I was like, this show's really sucking me into this cutesy romance, but I know better. Gundam can only trick me 5 times. It
Yeah.
can't get me
uh,
again.
But yeah, I mean, if you've never watched Gundam, and I think there's a
Yeah,
lot of
someone did
people.
ask, I don't know how to describe besides big punchy robots. How would you describe? It's okay, basically every Gundam is big punchy robots, but also war is bad.
And causes incalculable suffering.
Like it's not just war is bad, and every single version of Gundam is like, I'm going to show you a new way in which war is bad.
Yeah, it's like straight up like war crime after war crime after war crime. And it's one of those deals where it starts
Like
off with showing you, "Oh, here's a cute family having a cute day. They're picnicking. Isn't that nice?" And then suddenly a bomb sort of detonates 3 inches from them and kills everyone horribly, and then you're treated to 2 minutes of someone going, "Augusto! Augusto!" and just
yeah, that
crying
was
and screaming. Yeah.
your pronunciation of those words made my my skin do a little dance.
uh,
I don't know why.
Mm, but yeah, that's kind of what Gundam is when it first starts out. Like, yes, there are cool robots, and a whole lot of people fixate on like these cool, badass robots with
Well,
sort of faux Kabuto head decorations that can transform and shoot lasers and stuff. But there is also a healthy streak of, and here's some child murder.
oh yeah. Also, oh, by
um,
the way, also, you don't have any affection for the happy birthday song, do you?
No.
Good, because this is they're turning it into a death flag. Like, great, thank you. Thank
AJ
you. I
Brooks,
needed another
greetings to you
cute
too.
song for like a property to make me feel bad when I hear it.
you could,
That makes
um,
me think of, Stephen King has this thing he does, and I've read a ton of Stephen King. I really enjoy Stephen King, like, unironically, but one of the things he likes to do is make these associations between totally innocuous shit and terrible things happening, and I think it was best illustrated by he kind of interpreted that Scandinavian show Hospital for American TV, and he just sort of associated the song Red Dragon Tattoo with people being terribly murdered. It's like that is the most Stephen King thing on earth. Just this jaunty little pop rock song, Red Dragon Tattoo, while a giant anteater rears up and rips someone in half. It's the
Yay!
most Stephen King thing
Oh,
on
I think
earth.
I actually saw that on. Yeah, I saw
uh,
that.
Yeah.
It was like,
I,
oh, that was buried in there.
Yes. And he does that a lot, like, in his stories. He'll have someone, like, being ripped apart by wolves, and their final thoughts are, like, of a Campbell's soup commercial because the wolves are ripping their intestines out, and it looks like noodles, and they immediately think, "Mm-mm, good," before passing out and dying. Like, that's very Stephen King.
What
It's
are
a
you saying,
trope.
Kel?
um, I have seen 0 Gundams and have 0 interest in seeing any Gundams.
That's fair.
That's fine,
I'm
that's
just
fine.
here's the thing. This is the kind of weirdo I am. Normally, war is bad stuff. It's very much like, no, I get that. You don't have to tell me. And also, I don't stomach it very well, but I'm extremely horny for giant robots, so I endure.
Yeah, I have to say,
Uh, yeah.
I watch a lot of there is a there is a thing on YouTube. There is like a company, I guess, that kind of corrals influencers on YouTube called Geek X. And 2 people I watch have suddenly been corralled by them and have moved to Japan to basically be Japanese bloggers in Japan. And one of the things that they keep
I wonder
talking
if
about
that's what
doing is
happened with me
it was
there.
like with Emmy-chan and somebody else. It happened to multiple people. But one of the things I can't wait for them to do is go visit the life-size Gundam robot at the Gundam Museum, because if I ever make it to Japan, which I plan on it, that's gonna be one of the places I go just to see the life-size Gundam. And it moves and shit, by the way. So
I
it's
want
not just
to
like
touch it.
it's not a statue. It like they play the music of like, "Okay, we are getting into the Gundam," and then the Gundam stands up and it raises its arms and it takes a couple of steps forward and then does that position like it's about to take off. And like, I will travel thousands of miles to see that, and I don't give a shit.
Uh, yeah, I'm just not as enamored with giant robots.
Yeah.
They're fine. Like, I'm not against giant robots. I
Uh-huh.
rather liked Pacific Rim,
Oh, yeah.
I liked Evangelion.
Mhm.
I I'm just like, giant robots are not a thing that appeals to me, so, like, you gotta hook me with the people in the giant robots.
See, honestly, I think Gundam Witch might do that for you. I'm not saying you should watch it. I'm not. I'm just saying, like, well, no, honestly, here's the thing. What I like about the Gundam series specifically is some of the best characters never get in robots. That's kind of a
Yeah,
staple of
that's
the
true.
series. Like, there are some amazing characters who do not ever pilot a robot. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's just that kind of show.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
also extremely, like, the bed. Depending on what version you watch, there are some that are, like, so political. You're like, am I watching something like on HBO? What is this?
Uh-huh.
Like, you're just
I
like,
mean,
it's
those might
dry.
be the ones that appeal to me, but,
Like, the
uh
Gundam Wing, you go a long time without ever seeing a goddamn robot, and it's like, welcome to the boardroom.
uh, so, everything I know about Gundam is from, Amanda, do you remember those stingers on Toonami that were a bunch of animes pieced together that had some sort of theme? Like, they just,
I probably saw them, but they made no impression on me. But I believe you because I did watch Toonami.
yeah, it's just like a bunch of scenes of folks looking cool from various animes, and they pick a theme.
Mhm.
There was like one was space, and uh, one was like war or whatever. Like they were all very broad
Do you
things,
know
so
what
they
is?
could take clips from every anime. And so I knew which ones were from Gundam because they were the clips
We
that
have
weren't in
not talked
shows I
about
was already
Iron Blooded
watching.
Orphan. No, mostly because I don't think everyone here has seen it, so it would
No,
just be
not
like no
yet.
point.
I will this is something I've covered before on here, but when I am watching anime, I don't know, I just can't deal with dubs, so I watch subs, and that means I have to be on the treadmill when I'm watching it, and that means I am watching, like, 1 episode at a time, so, like,
Uh,
30 minutes, and so
uh,
that is how it took me forever to get through Mob Psycho 100 because that's how I was doing it.
I'm
I'm
I'm a
stronger
filthy
than you.
dubber.
I can watch a
Uh,
dub. I'm
I'm
strong.
You are.
I'm a f I will only watch dubs. So, like, I actually did not like Evangelion the first time I watched it because I found, Asuka's voice in the dub
Mhm.
absolutely infuriating and could not tolerate it,
Yeah.
and,
I
I have
just
only
Yeah.
recently seen all of
I was
Evangelion
just about to
because
mention Escaflowne.
they
That's one of those, like, it is a giant
'cause
robot
they
thing and no one
redubbed it.
talks about it anymore.
yeah.
Um
I've tried to fucking do a Evangelion because 'cause I've had those moments where it's like, so many people are into this, there's gotta be something to it, I'm going to give it a chance,
Here's the thing for
and
me,
then I try, and it's just like, "No,
the thing
I
with
hate
Evangelion
everyone."
for me is I have seen it all. I am therefore aware of it, so I am in on the references. But it's not something I think I have actively enjoyed for a very long time, and I don't
Mhm.
actually think I enjoyed it the first time around. It was one of those like, if you've never had cake before, and someone gives you like a really stale cake, it's gonna be.
Oh,
I'm not saying Evangelion's bad. I just don't think it's actually for me.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it was my first exposure to a certain type of media, so it was like, oh shit! It got elevated in my
yeah,
mind higher
yeah.
than it normally might have been if I saw it later in life. Because
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
not for
Yeah,
me. I
Yeah,
don't
I
actually
absolutely
like it.
agree. I
I
absolutely
don't
agree.
I don't think it's like amazing, breathtaking. It's just like finished Evangelion and have not had any desire to watch more Gundam.
Like the things that I really
Um,
liked about it, I then later found out, oh, this stuff that I liked about it is not unique to it. It was just my first exposure to
Yeah,
that thing.
I
And some
yeah.
of it
think,
was stuff it created that got
Mhm.
perpetuated and stuff, and some of it was just stuff it was repeating from older stuff. So it
and I
was
think like the big robot show anime that I've liked the most, um, has either been Big O or I watched Gurren Lagann a couple of years ago for the first time.
I didn't say
And
Evangelion is stale cake.
No, but the thing is, Amanda, I really like that because, again, I'm one of these very old people who was sort of predating the solidified, crystallized Crunchyroll on demand scanslation sites
Exact
everywhere,
same.
anime fandoms, excuse me, and kind of getting literally anything from Japan.
Anything you could get your
Anything,
hands on, you
anything.
consumed it. You
Like,
watched it.
the best thing I can say is when I was in my early 20s, I was working at a Pearl Arts and Crafts, and there was a girl there who was super into goth Lolita culture and also the girl Mountain Witch kind of culture. And she would special order fashion magazines from Japan and she would bring them in to work and she would show them to us, but we were not allowed to hold them or turn
Oh,
the
of course not.
pages, and she would turn the pages for us and hold them out for us, and we would all cluster around
That probably
and look at,
costs tons of money.
yeah, and look at all these sort of kids gathered in Shibuya on a Saturday photos and just marvel at them. The same way that people would just go to anime cons, like the nascent baby anime cons, and there'd always be a dude there who had VHS tapes that were like fucking $30 a piece
Yeah.
that were like 8th gen Sailor Moon and 10th gen fucking
Eighth
Menzinger
gen
Z.
Sailor Moon.
Well, just really, really old tape that was a recording of a recording of a
Oh, okay,
recording.
okay, okay.
And we would buy those for 30 and be like,
Yes.
"Yeah, what a fucking deal, awesome." Because it was esoteric and really
Oh,
incredibly
the
difficult to get
only
its hands
exposure I
on.
had to a lot of anime was this import shop called Animagic in the First Colony
Uh-huh.
Mall when I was a teenager, and it
yeah,
they had those crunchy VHS cases. You know the ones,
Mhm.
the crunchy
Mhm.
ones.
Yep.
my all my experience with anime before streaming
Mhm.
was dubs on TV. So
Yeah.
like I said, that's why I could not finish Evangelion as most people my age were watching it because I was like, this person's voice actress is insufferable, and I will not watch the rest of this.
I mean, there are things I
Um,
did like about it. Like again, I am a weirdo who's like the robot. Me
Yeah.
want me want to marry the big robot, and so like the whole like, oh, big robot as mom is like, yeah, that works for me. I like big robot as mom.
But your description as of Evangelion as stale cake, but you've never had cake before because
Yeah,
you think it's amazing, that accounted for, like, 90% of early anime fandom. Like, you were
yeah.
getting shit that was far from the best Japan
But
had to offer,
here's the
with
thing.
the exception
I
of
don't think
Akira.
I think it's good for like that experience, but I don't think it's
Oh,
a
yeah,
good the way to describe Evangelion because I do think
yeah.
it's very good and I do think it's important. I
Oh.
just don't like it.
Yeah, I don't.
Like I've seen a lot of stuff where I'm like, I can recognize the craftsmanship. I can
Mhm.
recognize why people like this. It's just not for me. That's where Evangelion
I
falls.
had someone say no early day YouTube bootlegs, Kel, and no, my parents did not have good internet or good computers, so
Uh-huh.
that I
Oh,
like a lot of things that people talk about being on the early internet. Like, I was not regularly on the internet until high school. And I feel like I missed the boat. Like, I had to go to a friend's house
Yeah.
to print out fan art that she had found
Oh,
online. Like
wow.
like that, it was partly like, okay, sure, you're torrenting. Like, I never got in the habit of like torrenting anything or pirating anything just because our internet wasn't good enough.
Right,
Like,
right, right.
uh, and I never really got in the habit of interacting with fandom because I just did not have access to internet fandom on a regular basis.
Mm,
And
uh,
I think also, uh, then my experiences in college with fandom made me not want to interact with fandom.
I can get that,
Um,
I can get that.
I was I was a way too plugged in child. Like my mom got internet very early. Like back when
Uh,
like AOL was like you paid by the hour.
right.
And I was a
mhm.
very plugged in 10-year-old. Way more than I should have. And it didn't help that the girl I had a crush on was like already building websites. Like
Oh,
we were that plugged in. She was building websites and like actually got jobs doing website design for people
wow.
just because there were so many few people who did it.
Yeah,
And like so if you jumped
absolutely.
on that early, yeah, an 11-year-old could like dominate a field.
My
But
husband yeah, my husband literally got his first job in okay, here's the thing about Matt, I'm just gonna really quickly speed run this shit. My husband got a full ride scholarship to a college based on his SAT scores, and he dropped out of college to do Photoshop and HTML shit because it was during the first dot-com bubble, and he would just go in on weekends in his dad's office where his dad had a nice computer and fuck around in Photoshop. And when I say fuck around, I mean it. He showed me some of the stuff he'd made back then. It was literally stuff made exclusively out of lens flares. That's how like primitive internet this was.
you
That
know,
this would be enough to get you hired.
my
And
oh yeah, go
that's
ahead.
where his first jobs came from. And that's why he's always worked in that field because early on there were so few people available in the job market that someone could pay him enough to entice him to leave college and come work on their .com business.
The first two jobs I ever had, these are baby jobs. These are like jobs like I'm going to pay you to mow the lawn jobs. But the
Uh-huh.
first two jobs I ever had was my first stepdad uh
Mhm.
hired me to basically edit all the product images for the website for his company, which was I've mentioned this before. It was the pet cremation and memorial service. So
Yes, I do recall
I
that.
was a little baby editing all these photos of pet urns and caskets for his website and naming them all appropriately, like medium Chihuahua something
Oh,
something. Well,
no!
that's what you had. Well, they were by size, and you had to recommend put in the you had all these fields you had to enter to be like, what would you recommend this little casket for? And he's like, this one's good for a casket or a Pekingese. I mean, a
Mhm,
Chihuahua or a
Uh,
Pekingese. My second job was at my dad's bed lining business. Uh,
mhm.
they needed to digitize all of their manuals, and literally nobody knew how to do any word processing. So I got hired to basically come in on weekends, read their manuals, and retype them in Word.
So and by bed lining,
uh,
you mean like the bed of trucks?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a
Yeah,
polyurethane coatings you spray on a like the bed of a truck to make it more durable.
yeah.
right.
Well, so since I didn't have the internet, I made up for it by I have seen every TV show that aired between the years of 1995 and 2004.
So
Like cuz it was basically like there were more TVs than people in my house. And it was very much like I'm gonna go in my room and I don't have cable in my room. I just have like the basic TV channels. So just watch whatever is on network TV
Mhm.
for hours and hours and hours. So a lot of the times when people are like, "Did you know about this obscure sitcom that got canceled after 3 episodes?" I'm like, "Yes, I did know about that."
Mhm.
And I did know about um, that '80s show and The Good Family and
Huh,
all the disasters
sorry, I was
huh.
reading the
that
chat.
didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Huh?
Um, Oh no, the chat was just reacting to what my first job was. So I was. This is one of those things where it's like, this is mine. I will never share it with you because this will be my little pleasure. But I
Mhm.
was online early enough and making digital art early enough that there are two pieces of art that I have made that have just kind of entered in sort of a get reshared a lot, completely unattributed and credited to anybody, and they just reappear a lot.
You got
And
memed.
I made well, no, they're not memes. It's
Oh.
more of like just a library of images that just get circulated a lot. Like we all own this now. It's not a meme. It just ends up in galleries a lot. It's even
Uh-huh.
been redrawn a lot. And I will
Oh.
not point it out because
Ooh.
I don't want it to make it an Easter egg hunt. This is my special thing that when I see it, I go hee hee. It's not
Type it in
even
Discord.
it is
Type it in
not
Dis
oh, it's
type it
not
in Dis
I
type it in
can share it
Discord.
with you if I can
Yeah.
find it, but it's
Yeah.
not special. It's literally a
Yeah.
drawing. It was just it's not special. It's just it
Yeah.
was online and digital and a fan art early enough that it just became a part of a rotating library that people in the Sonic fandom own. And I just like that.
Uh-huh.
I just
There is
like
that
that. That's why I'm not going to share it. I don't want to ruin it for everyone. It's just my cute little tee.
there's a this is going back to something previous in the conversation, but I just wanted to mention it really quick that some of my first exposure anime fandom is a it's a communicable disease. Some of my first exposure to anime in
Manchuria
in
Man!
and anime, like, sort of fandom stuff is I didn't recognize it at the time, but in retrospect, the parents of a friend of mine were
I didn't
clearly,
draw
like
pregnant Sonic. It's actually really innocuous.
were actually kind of primordial anime geeks, and when we would go over to my friend's house, it was always kind of a weird they weren't just anime geeks, they were also sci-fi geeks because as along with what I'm about to discuss, they also had a lot of, like, bootleg tapes of Dark Towers, I think it's called, this really cheesy English, like, horror suspense show, but what I remember primarily is going over there and they had multiple Ranma 1/2 movies on Laserdisc. And we and we would watch Ranma 1/2 movies on Laserdiscs that were all subbed, and it was it's like, at that point, I had seen Akira, like, ages and ages ago, so I wasn't completely ignorant of anime, but it was always this, like, weird little treat because once again, we were growing up in a world where, like, the animation that we were watching on television, like, was like fucking like Shirt Tales, you know? Like, that was the animation, and it was really interesting to see that
I
shit.
wish I
Like,
drew the first Sonic crucifixion fan art. I wish. I did not.
that'd be amazing.
Uh, um, my favorite story about someone watching old bootleg animes, is Jay Edidin has a story about being on a, like, vacation with a bunch of friends as a teenager, and they put on a VHS that was a bunch of random bootlegs from Japan, and one was this weird show where kids had weird magical pets, and it just Jay was like, "This is completely formulaic and uninteresting and will never take off." And then 2 years later, like, then a year later, Pokemon airs in the States, and it is a massive sensation.
Naturally.
Um,
Yeah, I remember one of my favorite things about, like, kind of early Pokemon is being that sort of obnoxious Poindexter. It's like, "Actually, this has its roots in the Japanese childhood tradition of capturing beetles and making them fight." And whenever you see a Japanese child wearing, like, a sun hat and holding a butterfly net over their shoulder, that is a callback to that tradition. And people
God,
are like,
if you
"No
had
one's
tried that
gonna
with
I
me, I would
mean
have like wedgied you
Oh.
and ran.
Oh, I'm a raging
I
Poindexter, and I
mean
always have been.
s I mean, Spike, that the guy that made Pokemon made it because he liked bug collecting.
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah,
yeah,
I
Yeah,
know,
Spike's referencing that.
yeah.
yeah.
So that's just the thing that I, like, really enjoy telling people because, it gave me a chance to be a Poindexter, and that was kind of my identity for years and years, a gigantic Poindexter. But yeah.
Um,
Hooey, hooey, hooey.
Yeah, I just and the thing is, I don't like Pokemon, not in a way where it's like I actively dislike it, but I have tried multiple times to kind of get into it the same way I've tried multiple times to get into Neon
Like,
Genesis
what do you mean get
Evangelion.
into it?
Like, people are, "Oh, so many people are into this. There's gotta be something to it." And I got, like, that Pokemon Go app, and I watched a
Oh,
bunch of
here
Pokemon.
here's the thing, Spike.
Uh-oh.
There is no one way to enjoy Pokemon. I don't like Pokemon Go. I've never liked it. I
Uh-huh.
only really like the Pokemon games, and I just kind of watch the cartoons because they were auxiliary.
Yeah, I
And I
don't
was
like the
super into the
cartoon.
card game. I was actually more into the
Yeah,
card game than I was the
like
game.
the card
Mhm.
game, the I liked the games
I
for the
like the
first
card
two
games.
generations.
Mhm.
I watched the show because it was on, and as I stated earlier, I watched far too much television. And I stopped watching Pokemon when Digimon was on at the same time, and Digimon is the superior show, and I will fight anyone that disagrees.
Hmm.
And but like um yeah, a lot of the people that are really into Pokemon, it could be something like they um like either they like the games, and there's also multiple way to enjoy the games because there's enough complexity to the battle system that there are people that are fully like the way the game battling works and have competitive that way. And then obviously you know about Nuzlocke, so there are people who like to
Yeah.
do stuff like that.
The
um
point of all this is like I don't think like everyone liking Pokemon means anything.
Yeah, it's part of its success is that it's very versatile,
Yeah.
and there is probably a way for you to enjoy Pokemon. Not that we're gonna force it on you, just like
No, I
if
disagree. I don't
it
I don't
yeah.
think any of the Pokemons I know is a Pokemon Spike would enjoy. My point is just
Yeah.
the idea that like so many people like Pokemon. It's like uh I feel like that's a misconception.
I mean, that's fair
It's
enough. I decided I didn't want, my big thing is I spent a lot of my life extremely contrarian, like, "Oh, a whole bunch of people like it, I'm going to go out of my way to not like it." So, I'm trying to make sure that's not an actual, because that's
Right.
tiresome as fuck. I'm trying to make sure that's not part of my personality. So, when, for example, that not just Pokemon, but, Animal Crossing, that's what I'm thinking of. When Animal
Mhm.
Crossing got an app too, I'm like, "I'm gonna give that a shot because everyone I know really likes Animal Crossing, and maybe I'm missing out." And, I was just like, I got bored and left, and when
Same.
Pokemon Go was there, I was all like, "Okay, I'm gonna give this a shot too." And, it wasn't for me. And I'm not wa
Pokemon
I don't watch,
Go, yeah.
yeah,
I
I don't watch,
hated
Finish your
Pokemon
thought.
the
Go.
I don't watch the Pokemon anime because it's like this looks and feels sort of explicitly for children. So this
Yeah.
isn't a thing I'm going to look at. And I watch people play Pokemon games. On YouTube, I watch a lot of Let's Plays in general, and sometimes a Pokemon Let's Play slips in there, and I'm like, I'm gonna see what this is like. And I'm all like, wow, these are literally all the same.
Um,
And I just
so
wander off.
yeah, so basically, like I like Pokemon Go mostly because I use it to get a reward for running. Like,
Uh-huh.
uh, Kelly, you have run 5K. Here is a cute animal as a prize. Like, I don't
I
really
get
catch
it.
it all that much.
It doesn't
Yeah,
that doesn't work
like,
for me because I don't like surprise, so that didn't work for me.
well, so it's like if I walk this much, this egg will hatch and I will get a creature.
I I also know
And
that
it's
I also know the game's changed a lot. I don't know if it's different now, but when I started, it was just here's a Pokemon. No, no, that's it.
Mhm.
Just here's a Pokemon. Enjoy.
well, now you can fight people and so they have added more to it. And but for the most part, I'm using it still as a
Yeah.
reward for exercising. And also to do community things because I do try to meet up with a friend on community day and we go walk around the park and catch Pokemon together. Like those are the things that I'm getting out of Pokemon Go. And since you don't like to leave your house and Pokemon Go doesn't know how to track a treadmill, you can't get either of those things, Spike.
Fair
Um,
fair enough.
yeah.
It's like, God, I forgot what I was gonna say, but
It's
the thing that I was, trying to say before
Yeah.
is I tried Pokemon, I
Yeah.
tried, uh, Animal Crossing, and these days I it's part of why I take games and I kinda split them into categories, and one of them is games I really wanna play, and I just straight up don't watch any Let's Plays if there's a game I genuinely want to play until I'm at least halfway through. And then there are games where I know for a fact I'm not interested, but I will happily watch Let's Plays of it without any expectation that's going to make me want to buy the game.
Mhm.
And things like Pokemon are in there, and things like, Dragon Age are in there, a bunch of Witcher games are in there, and I just I don't know, it's like it either hits with me and it doesn't. I'm sure that's not a unique
No,
experience,
yeah,
so
everyone has
Yeah,
stuff they
and
like to play. Like I like to
mhm.
play very I like video games, but I am a little picky baby.
Yeah.
I I don't got time to play all those games.
Yeah.
So I like people ask me, "Oh, have you played this game?" And I'm like, "No, I literally just play RimWorld and maybe one other game, and I never play any other games."
Yeah.
I have The Witcher 3 and I got like halfway through. I still need to finish it.
Mhm.
Um and I've told myself I'm not allowed to buy new games until I finish Witcher 3 and until I finish Disco Elysium. Because
Yeah.
those are both games that I enjoy playing them. I just need to fucking
Yeah.
finish them.
Yeah,
Um,
the games I'm
the,
playing right oh,
I have
yeah.
someone asking if all of us have played Disco Elysium.
No,
I have not, and I intend to.
I have
But the
no
game
intention to just because
yeah.
I don't know.
The games that I have been playing lately, I share them on Twitter a lot, so I'm sure some of you folks have seen it. I am currently playing a very relaxed Kenshi playthrough, which is a game I talked about before, which is sort of this post-apocalyptic, incredibly open world. There is no kind of plot to follow. You just do what you want. And I've
Mhm.
just been playing a Bugman, which is one of the races. They look like weird hiver ins they're called hivers, and they just look like weird insect stick people. I've been playing a kleptomaniac Bugman who is trying to become a master of martial arts. And there's another game that I've been tweeting about a lot recently called Sailwind, which is probably the chillest game on earth, where you are literally just a trader going from port to port, like picking up crates of wine and pork or whatever, and then sailing very realistically across the ocean to another port and selling them for a profit and upgrading your ship and dealing with exchange rates and taking contracts. It's super chill and it's perfect. Like the way I often play it is I'll be working on something and I will switch into Sailwind. I will adjust the course of my sailing ship, and I will lock the wheel, the steering wheel, whatever you call it, on the sailing ship, and then I'll alt tab out and go back to what I was doing, and the game will just keep running, and I'll just keep an eye on it while I'm, like, answering email and stuff. It's really nice. And, of course, I've also been playing Dwarf Fortress. So those are, like, the 3 games I've been playing this month.
I was thinking about what
Um,
is the connective tissue between like all of the games I do end up playing a lot.
Mhm.
And it really just kind of boils down to any game with emergent gameplay seems to be the one that
Yeah.
hooks me. It's like I like Minecraft because yes, there's stuff you can do, but you can have little personal goals. You can play it your own way. I that's why RimWorld sucked me in when I finally got it. Is okay, you can kind of make your own game out of it.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Um uh,
I
my my
oh,
dinosaur game again, we've got emergent gameplay out of that where it's like
Uh-huh.
we have like people always say, oh, would you recommend that game? I'm like, absolutely not, I cannot recommend it. But I
Yeah.
like what I do in
Yeah.
it.
For me,
I
the one
really
uniting thing is just no end game, no plot, no win condition is what the word I'm looking for. That's why I like Kenshi, Sailwind, Dwarf Fortress, RimWorld. RimWorld technically does have a win condition, but it is incredibly easy to ignore. So that's what I like about it. I can just do what I want and then
I
fuck
like
around forever.
I like games where I can explore and I like games with resource management.
Yeah.
Um I really liked um even though The Witcher technically has a plot, like there is a lot of exploring in it and that's why I liked it. I do like seeing like when different outcomes happen in a game. So I did enjoy Dragon Age when I played it. I uh uh and Witcher has a little of that too. Um and that's partly why I like Disco Elysium and want to finish it and then replay it. Um but yeah, like I really like playing Don't Starve Together with my buddies Kevin and Bones, because it's you got to explore the world while managing all this stuff. Um
Yeah, I liked playing that
and
with y'all because I did like the having little mini missions and having goals. Like I was really obsessed with always building a house.
Yeah.
mhm.
The one thing I
um
really enjoying about Dwarf Fortress, because I'm new to Dwarf Fortress. Actually, let me click over to Steam and see how many hours in I have. Uh, it doesn't feel like I'm new to Dwarf Fortress, but I have 63 hours in it. So, one of the things that's really fascinating about it is, Amanda, you were talking about emergent gameplay.
Yeah.
Dwarf Fortress is kind of in that family of games that is considered a story generator more than a game, and I like it when stuff happens that's kind of out of my control and I'm merely an observer for. So, a a dwarf mother will beat her own child to death, and the entire fortress will report to the sheriff saying they witnessed this, and the dwarf mother will be convicted and put in a cage, and she'll be wildly depressed while in that cage, not just because she's in prison, but because her baby is dead. And then the dwarf mother will go insane in that cage. And you're just sort of like watching all this. There's nothing you could have really done to prevent it.
That
It's just what
is
happened.
stuff like that is why one of my favorite video game memories is so
Mm.
whenever I play The Sims, I like ISBI challenges, which are
Mhm.
it means I'm surrounded by idiots challenges, where
Uh-huh.
you are only allowed to control one sim at a time. And it
Yeah.
if and depending on the Sims game you're playing, you might have to download more mods to make Sims more autonomous without your control, depending on the game. I
Yeah.
know, for example, Sims 2 autonomous romance was not a thing, so you had to like get a mod for that. And I did, so I tried to make Sims 2 all of the characters, any mod that would make them autonomous as possible, and I could only control one. So basically, I was like combining it with a legacy challenge where like you would pass on the role of the sim you are playing to like the heir of the sim and see how many
Right.
generations deep you could get. So I was on my third generation controlling my sim, and what basically sort of happened was my sim had a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and they both moved in with her, and I was like, yeah, sure, you can both. But after that, she immediately got a preference for the boyfriend and started ignoring the girlfriend, and then the girlfriend like became our live-in maid, and it's like
Oh
I didn't make this
no.
happen. It's just she was like she had interest in cleaning, and like that's where all her stats were, so that's
Oh.
all she did. And then she had an affair with my sim's dad and had a baby, and I was like, no, I have a soap opera with like a secret baby with the maid. How did this happen?
Oh
And I
my
didn't control, again, I
god.
can only control my like heirs, my main sim. So I'm like watching all this happen going, I didn't do this, I promise.
Oh
And then the
uh,
no.
baby gets born, and I'm like, I guess we're just gonna keep it in the room with the other baby.
Oof.
I also like strategy games. So I'm okay with a win condition if I have to think really hard and figure out how to do it. I did like Civilization. I played Civilization 5 a lot. Um,
Hmm.
I'm okay with strategy games. I'm just kind of I get stressed easily.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I won't play like survival like horror games or anything like that. I just get like I'm not scared. I'm stressed. It's another reason why like I don't play first person shooters that much. I just get really stressed out. Like I used to play uh Team Fortress 2 with y'all. We used to
Uh-huh.
play Team Fortress a lot, and I would just get really stressed. Like I could never get to that state where like everyone's like high fiving after a game. Like, well, that was fun. I would always be like sweating and stressing about how bad I did.
Yeah, the thing about games like that, team shooters specifically, is it's really all about who you play with in my
But I was
experience.
playing with a good group. This is a me
Yeah.
problem. I will bring
Yeah.
this anxiety to any situation. I'm just I always feel like I'm bringing the team down, and like I just don't know how to. I
Oh.
don't know how to have fun. Is the problem with
Oh,
Mm.
first person
someone
shooters?
is saying Crusader Kings. Crusader Kings is also an amazing game. I had a lot
Oh,
of fun with that.
Crusader
That's
King,
another
yeah.
strategy game.
That one overwhelmed
Um,
me, and I never came back.
Oh.
It was too
Yeah,
many things.
there's a lot to Crusade for anyone here, this is just off the cuff here. If there's anyone here who's interested in Crusader Kings and kind of is in the group where it's like, "I don't know where to start," there is a Let's
play as
Player.
Ireland.
Yeah, there's a Let's Player named Quill18, and Quill18 does a lot of, "Let me introduce you to this complex strategy game" stuff, and he is really good as explaining as he goes and talking about his strategies, and, like, one of my favorite things about him talking about his strategies is, a big thing that matters a lot in Crusader Kings is marriages, and he just says, "Okay, here's what you do. You go to this tab, and you look for people who are of breeding age, and you look for people who have really good traits, and then you consider what kind of alliances will be struck if you marry this person. And so those are your three primary things to worry about. So we're going to go in this tab, we're going to do that." And it's one of those things where I don't know how I would have figured it out without someone talking to me like that about it. It's really good.
Kevin was making fun of me because he says all of my strategy games where there are multiple generations that I control turn into eugenics projects.
They
Um,
kind of have to.
yeah, because that's
It is.
how
It is, and
you
video game.
Yep.
yeah. When you are playing Crusader Kings, that is kind of how you get a good heir. Is
You gotta. You just gotta.
I would always have my daughters in Crusader Kings marry low-born geniuses through a matrilineal marriage, so that
Uh-huh.
way I am still controlling them, but then, like, whoever my heirs, kids end up being, they'll have cousins with good genes to marry,
Mhm.
um, and yeah.
Yeah, that's a big Crusader thing, trying to figure out how, like, there are all these various traits that you want to go for in Crusader Kings. Genius, of course, is one of them. Beautiful is another one. Another one is, giant. That's one people really like because
Well,
it makes them
giant
very powerful in
can
battle.
Yeah, but giant can also hurt your health. So I usually go for like robust or strong rather than giant.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then fertile is a trait.
Yeah.
Um,
These are all things that are, like, super good to have, and a lot of your breeding in Crusader Kings is g breeding, oh my god. Marriage arrangements in Crusader Kings are going to be about
it's
trying to
breeding.
figure out a
Let's be
way.
real.
Yeah, trying to figure out a way that you get all of those genes in your bloodline specifically.
You're trying to create the ultra Chad.
Yeah, you're trying to do that. And at the same time, I really enjoy people who just wildly cheat at Crusader Kings. I enjoy watching their Let's Plays where they spawn a player character who's going to live to 137 and win every fight he's in because, living vicariously. I can't really bring myself to do that myself, but it's fun to watch people do that.
I love it. There's nothing that tickles me more than when people break games on purpose.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
let's
that's fun.
game it out is just
Oh
that's my
god.
crack. That's like
Yeah, I love that.
it's like, Amanda, are you sad? I'm like, yeah, there's a new Let's Game It Out. I'm like, oh, and I just like
Yeah.
scurry out, like, where is it?
And he does this thing for folks who have never watched him, please go watch Let's Game It Out. And he just has these vocal tics he does that just make me giggle every time he does them, like, in the middle of cheating when he's just, like, just ratcheting up some fucking stat through the ceiling for a player character. He just starts going, "Mhm." And that's, like, never
I
not
really
fucking
like
funny.
I really liked in Monster Factory when they played Crusader Kings and they
Yeah.
made their person they're gonna play as and he lived less than a year because he had like
Yeah.
everything wrong with him.
Yeah, Crusader
Um,
Kings doesn't tolerate that shit.
I did. I loved in the Let's Game It Out Crusader Kings where he was just like made it this guy's mission to get revenge on a 4-year-old who insulted him for the
Mhm.
rest of her life and down through her line.
Yeah. It's Crusader Kings is really fun, but it's definitely a, weirdo locked in their room game. So, it's like one of the things that's kind of annoyed me about gaming in general these days, especially, and I say this
Stars.
with air quotes, is, fucking triple A gaming, is they are trying to force every game into sort of this, like, multiplayer cooperative live service thing, and some when I play games, 9 times out of 10, I just wanna be fucking alone in my room playing my game. I don't
See,
want everything to be multiplayer, and I remember there were a lot of deal breakers with the reboot of SimCity, but the big one
oh
was
yeah.
forcing it to be always online and trying to make it cooperative. That is, like, the
Uh,
game least I want
See,
to be
I
playing with
like
other people.
cooperative
I
games. It's just the games I want to be cooperative never are.
Yeah.
What I think is funny, this is a tangent about City Skylines, which was made in response to SimCity shitting the bed.
Mhm.
Um, I was recently watching Sophie from Mars play it, and she jokingly got mad at the game because it would not let her have a city with no cops. Um,
Yeah,
she
but
just kept getting pop up after pop up of like crime is really rampant. We could really use some police, and she's like, "No, no cops." Um,
Yeah, I City Skylines is fun. I haven't played it in a dog's age, but City
Yeah.
Skylines is
uh,
fun, and I
did
just
you? I forget what the game is, but there. I think it's like Victoria or something.
mhm.
And it is about you controlling a country during the Industrial Revolution, and the quote unquote drama around it is um, right when gamers got mad because communism is too overpowered in the game.
I have seen that advertised on Steam, but I haven't gotten it, no.
Yeah, people getting mad that communism is overpowered is what
Yeah.
made me be like, maybe I should check this game out.
Yeah, there's still, like, a little bit of a sale going on, right? Let me see. I'm gonna go look now. Oh, and there's Medieval Dynasty, which is one of those games where it's like, it feels like it's
I'm I'm
90% of
mad at my dinosaur game because I've been trying to find a group of Gallimimus to play with.
oh,
And
well, I
people only started asking about Gallimimus play before we started recording, and I'm like, Tui, how dare you? How dare you? I wanted to be a Gallimimus all week.
but there's a game called
uh,
Medieval Dynasty, and it's one of those games it's hard to describe this, but what I say is it feels like a game that's, like, 90% there, and I don't mean that in a mean way. It's by what appears to be a very small group, and it's quite an achievement for a small group, and it seems to kinda have that vibe I love where it's here is a little primitive area and you can build your own township and you can marry and have children and you can develop a whole little village all by yourself and it's a village you made and isn't that neat and also you can have a dynasty so you can have lots of kids and you can have a person who inherits your belongings and you will die but your child will live on like that sounds fun and cute but whenever I see a let's play of medieval dynasty it is just, like, 2% more janky than I'm willing to tolerate. And I know that's kind of some mean shit to put on a little indie game, but it's just it's
It is what it
just en
is.
yeah, it's just enough that I'm not interested.
You want to know the other anime I watched this week?
No.
Okay,
What is it?
Chainsaw Man. I finally watched it.
Oh, yeah, that's the one everyone's
yay.
talking about.
Um, Still prefer the manga.
Uh,
Yes, I
fair,
agree with you. I
fair.
prefer the
The
manga.
manga's
But
a lot of Denji's more gremlin mannerisms have been toned down, but
Mhm.
um but I still really like it. I still really like it. Um and I'm extremely confused because I saw a lot of complaining about the 3D animation and only one time did I did something 3D bug me and it was just a character kind of like a 2D character rotoscoped onto a 3D bed in a scene that was
Mhm.
moving a lot, and I thought it was a little janky, but that was fucking it. I don't know what people are
yeah,
talking
no,
about.
a lot of this is a thing that my mother's basement talked about a little bit is that there's a subsection of anime fans who are so used to the early days of 3D animation that they now just jump to anime 3D anime bad. It's janky and bad no matter how well done it is.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that is where a lot of that complaint
Like
is coming for.
there were scenes where I was like, this is obviously 3D animated. But I also kept thinking, if a human had to draw this by hand, their hands would fall off.
Yeah,
They
for
just
And
sure.
die.
also and also this like animation studio already was overworking all their animators, so like um yeah, no,
Like
it's
there
fine.
like
Like
I will take the shittiest. I will take a few scenes of janky ass 3D animation, which again, there really wasn't much of it all. If I
mhm.
could get the 2D animated hand drawn scenes that we did get, we got some. We like there are some 2D animated hand drawn scenes that are so fucking good.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's so good. How are you not satisfied? I will like you have to make cuts somewhere.
Yeah. This
My
actually is
brother's in my chat and he's saying he saw people complain about the slam dunk anime's use of CG, but it was pretty good because they were trying to do kind of what Into the Spider Verse was doing.
yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that it's fine. You're being overly critical. Also, like, I would like those animators to be able to see their families.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a thing I've been watching. I haven't seen a lot in the way of 3D anime, but there was a clip that was circulating YouTube, not recently, but recently enough, where it was showing how the 3D model cheats in
Oh, you're talking about
making
Belle?
I don't know.
Oh,
The 3D
okay.
3D model cheats in when the head turns, the face still stays, anime looking. Because keep in mind, like, a lot of
Well,
anime.
specifically looking like the concept art.
Well, I don't know about that either, but what I'm saying is, like, a lot of anime kinda has a little bit of a snout, and the mouth is on the side of the face, if you're going to be speaking in
Yeah.
strictly 3D terms, and the person, like, in Blender or whatever they were using, they, grabbed the face, and they turned it from side to side and showed you how they migrate the mouth from cheek to cheek as the character turns their head without it looking jank and weird,
Yeah,
and
that's
it was
kind of like the stuff
really
they did with
fun.
that Charlie Brown movie.
Yeah, it's really weird and it's really fun to look at because they have gotten this down to the point now where it's totally seamless.
mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, cheap animation still exists, but
Oh,
like
it's
Yeah.
always going to
that's
exist.
not
It's
Chainsaw
always
Man. Yeah, that's like complaining about it just for being 3D
Hell,
is
there were a
nonsense.
few times in Chainsaw Man where I kind of quietly thought you could have 3D animated. You could have probably you could have clocked it in early. It's fine. You gave me so much. I ate
Mhm.
so well today. It's okay that you didn't have to hand embroider the napkin. It's fine. Go home. See your
Yeah.
Yeah,
family.
and so yeah, it is just in my opinion people being overly critical. Like I know the exact scene you're talking about,
Oh
Amanda, the
yeah,
bed
that
scene that looks kind of janky. Like,
I think
but
I
like,
might have also been on edge already because I really didn't like. Okay, so you know how like at the beginning of like anime, like if it's episodic, they will recap like the last like minute or so.
mhm,
They did that in that like those between those two episodes, but they did it so much of it, and I didn't fucking get why.
Mhm.
They reanimated that whole fucking scene, and I didn't like the scene because it's uncomfortable. And that's my one real complaint about it is why did you do that scene twice from
Yeah.
two different POVs? Why?
Yeah.
I feel like that like no, like that was definitely a moment of you didn't have to do that. Let your animators go home. Unchain them
yeah.
from their desks. Why did you do this scene twice? I don't get it. Like I know sometimes you can do
Uh,
that for an effect, but whatever the intended effect was lost on me because they both resulted in the exact same sensation as a watcher.
Yeah.
Tree Squirrel Pants, thank you for gifting a sub to Commander Root.
Oh. Hmm.
You know
By the
what?
way, I'm going
Oh,
oh, go for it.
on the subject of like anime and 3D animation, giant robots, and it's like I would fucking love because there's a lot of like older anime that's getting shows. I would love for them to take a second swing at Magic Knight Rayearth. I know I'm already like a Knight Rayearth simp. I understand that, but like
I am fully ignorant of Magic Knight Raya. What is that?
it's it's kind of a magical girl giant robot, but the giant robots are magical, and it's in a
Okay.
fantasy world. Um, it's kind of like you might if it came out now, you'd probably call it an isekai, but it was during a time when like you didn't call things that.
Okay.
Um, and it's more like the creators were super into D&D classes and stuff. That's kind of more what they were going for. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I like them. The manga's really cool. I really like the manga. It's also one of those few series with like it's one story arc and it wraps up in a very and it's one of those stories that's set up really well and it wraps up really well and the ending like
Mhm.
punches you in the gut and then says, "Okay, bye. You feel bad? Good."
I like games.
Um
I like shows like
yeah,
that. You
it's
feel
like
bad,
that.
good.
And that's why I'm not getting too much into the plot, but yeah, it's I liked it a lot. I still really like it. I have the omnibus. A new omnibus came out recently. I'm like, new omnibuses. Yes, I probably do. Um,
Mhm.
and I just the anime it got again. I mentioned recently. I actually only recently started watching it because I have a TV now, and I have Roku and Retro Crush, and I was idly watching it, and I was like, oh, I wanted to watch this so bad as a teenager. This is horrible. It is not good. It is bad.
No.
It is. I'm not going to go into it because in a previous episode I talked about what made it bad. It's kind of like everything I think you can do wrong in adapting something. It's just not good. And I keep thinking like, man, imagine like a Magic Knight Rare's done now.
Yeah.
Imagine those robots done now. Because those
Yeah.
robots are so fucking.
Like, I absolutely get that impulse, but at the same time, I mean, I've had thoughts like that too, like, "Oh my god, I'd love to see what they would do with X now," but at the same time, I can't help but think, we have enough. We have enough reboots. Like,
No, I disagree.
we're drowning in
No, here's
reboots
the thing.
and reimaginings.
No, I disagree just because like it's not like Magic Knight Nerith is a property that's been beat into the ground, and it's not
Yeah.
like it's going to take the spot of something else. I think like it's totally fine to give like okay, technology is different. What we can
Mhm.
do is different. I don't think there's anything wrong in taking something and going, okay, let's do it now with the resources we now have. I don't think this would fall under like, oh, we're just rehashing ideas because this again, this is not exactly a ends up in any top 10 lists or anything. It's not exactly a Pokemon or something.
Yeah, I get you. I'm just kind of I would love some more new ideas. I'm not going to sit here and
I
claim
mean,
that
by
no
that
new ideas.
rationale, like if I
Yeah.
make a comic and it gets adapted, that's a bad thing.
No, I mean, what I'm saying is there are a lot of TV shows that will go nameless, and there are a lot of movies that will go nameless, and as a person who is now how do I say this without sounding like a massive bitch? As a person who is moving in circles where certain decisions are being made, I'm kind of super over people hanging everything on name recognition with their decisions on what to put on movie and TV screens,
Oh, I
and
agree with that
how
for
I am
sure.
watching right now really good ideas. I think we're all anyone who's kind of, like, dimly aware of the state of media and kind of aware of what's happening in animation and film right now, it's quite heartbreaking to see new ideas shelved, canceled, and destroyed, but here comes reboot number 50 from property from when I
Yeah,
was 5.
No, I
I'm
agree with that, but like again, I think Magic Knight Earth is not a property like that. Like it's one I have to remind people that it ever existed at all sometimes. It's
Yeah. Which is why,
um
a while ago on Twitter, someone was saying, "Hey, did you hear about the new Akira anime?" And once again, I'm one of those people. I will not even sit there and defend Akira if someone's gonna roll up and be all like, "It's incoherent. The ending is incoherent. They turned it into a massive sausage party where they cut out all the prominent female characters, or even worse, turned the female characters male. It doesn't make any sense here, 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 and here. It's all noise and lights and no story, blah blah blah. If you're gonna like roll up and do that, I won't even say shit to you. Like in a lot of ways, you're right. I agree with you in a lot of ways. Love the film, literally changed my life. I still agree with you. But if someone was all like, "Let's make a new Akira," I would make that like, I smell shit face. I just
I
we did it. It's
this
done.
is this is where like
I disagree
if
because
someone
I'll keep talking,
yeah,
sorry.
I would say I disagree with Akira specifically because if someone said, um, "Hey, we're gonna make an Akira anime which is gonna be a full series that is accurate to the manga rather than the movie, which is like trying to cram it all into 2 hours." Um, and like, so I would not be like, I smell bullshit if that was what someone was saying. We're making a new anime and it's a series that's going over the whole manga rather than shortening it and giving you abridged
Yeah,
nonsense
and
Akira.
I absolutely get that opinion, and it's a totally valid opinion. I see the sense in it. But at the same time, I would like new things, please.
Yeah, but the way I view that is like it really does come down to like the reason someone's doing it and the execution because it could end up being a new thing.
It could, but I just I mean, I'm gonna keep a lot of my remonstrations to myself, I think, but it's just I
Uh,
see a media landscape that is I'm not impressed.
I guess, but
Um,
yeah, no, and
when you get to a certain point, I feel like okay, then no comic should be adapted.
no, I'm not even saying
No,
no
that's
comics
me.
should be
I'm
adapted.
saying that like
I'm not talking about changing media. I'm talking about something that I'm okay, fine, let's go there. Like, how much more fucking Scooby-Doo do we need to see?
I'm not talking
Like,
about
how
Scooby
much
Doo though.
I am right now though, because I'm like, it's not so much I don't think anything that's a manga or a comic should ever be made into a film because that's just a rehash. I don't believe that at all. I think there are significant changes that if you want to make a good adaptation need to occur. If you're going to take something from one medium which
Yes.
communicates in one way and turn it into a new medium which communicates in a new way. Things that can happen in comics can't happen on film and vice versa. That is not the same thing to me as let's just do it again and again and again and again. What
Yeah.
I'm talking about is a property with a history in film and television, and every 5 years we get a new version instead of something new, and I find it tiresome and unwatchable and an incredibly troubling
and
development.
Yeah, but
I
I agree
agree
with you
with
on that.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, but not with something like Akira, which hasn't been remade.
I
Like,
don't want it to be.
No, that's fair. You not wanting it, I totally get
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
just that's why it's like for something like like I said, like Magic Knight Rares, it's like I don't think it had a good when it was made the first time. I don't think it had any creative vision behind it. It was extremely this needs an anime.
like,
Put it through the anime making machine.
Yeah, fair
like
enough.
Get the sausage that comes out.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that Full Metal Alchemist got a second anime because the end of the first anime is nonsense and garbage, and
Mhm.
having the actual ending it's supposed to have is better. Um
Okay.
and so I think like
But
in
like
cases where it was adapting something that was unfinished at the time, that's where it's like it's still something new because there are large portions of Akira that have not been animated. Like
I I get
because
you. I get
but
you.
on the flip
uh
side, there is the flip
but
side to this of Sailor Moon Crystal came out and I was so disappointed.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, it's the manga.
Yeah.
It's the manga. That's it. And I think that's was its kind of its whole deal. Like, no, remember the anime wasn't faithful to the manga. This is gonna be faithful to the manga, and that made me
Mhm.
pause and go like, well, the anime was still good. We liked the anime. I
Okay.
guess this, and I was like, okay, you know what? That's nice. I will take that because it is different. I would like a different Sailor Moon anime. Yes,
Mhm.
please, I'll take that. But I don't think there was a vision behind this one. I think it really was just put the manga into the anime machine and poop it out. Like it's it's the manga, but not good. And like this is one of those
Oh.
examples of like, no, I didn't want to see that scene animated, and like I didn't want you to use the comic as a storyboard.
Right.
I didn't. Why did you do that? I don't like
Yeah.
this. Thank you.
There
No, thank you. And also, they did this thing where like, so the manga art is janky.
Mhm.
I love janky art, and I think it's charming. And
Mhm.
it's just how it is. And it also has like it has comedy scenes which are very exaggerated. The
Sure.
anime does this thing where they seem really concerned with, they want it to look like the manga art, but very specifically they want it to look like the cover art.
Ah, okay.
They want it to look like the
So
cover
they don't
art.
want to make the goofy scenes
No.
do the
So
goofy
they'll do the
bits.
comedy
Yeah.
scene. It will be beat for beat, just like the comic. But
But
it will
not super
look,
chibi.
but no, they weren't super chibi. They just were just drawn more elastically.
Okay.
But they'll be very pretty in the comedy scenes. Their faces will still look like pretty dolls in the
Yeah.
even in the like, even in the emotional scenes, like they have more emotional range, and it just seems like see, this just turned into me ranting about Sailor Moon Crystal being a disappointment.
I want to hear it though.
But and I think it just, they were very preoccupied with, we want to make it look like the manga.
Mhm.
What do we like about the manga? Well, it's very pretty. I'm like, I mean, I guess it can be very pretty, but like it's also
Mhm.
weird. Like you like didn't adapt the weird stuff. And so I
Yeah.
just didn't. I might go and finish it one day because it's like it does adapt stuff that like didn't get adapted, and I'm like, well, maybe they'll do something weird with it because like it is. The thing about the Sailor Moon manga and the anime is they were made alongside each other. Like it wasn't like the manga came first and then the anime. Like
Right.
the manga was a property, they licensed it out, and the anime kind of was like following alongside, but was its own thing. And I
Mhm.
think that's one of those.
Yeah, they were using the same like outline.
Yeah,
Um so they get to the same endpoint, but they get there very different ways.
yeah. And there's points where they just deviate. Like, no thanks, we're not going. You know what? I don't think this 12-year-old girl should be like a cyborg constantly on the verge of death. We're not doing that. And it's like, but you should have. It was cool. Um, but I also think that's why I was originally excited about Crystal, because the manga is really fucking weird, and it's one of those things that's kind of like lost on a lot of people because some people's don't understand why Sailor Moon became such a big deal. Like, yes, the anime was a big deal, but the manga was also a really big deal. And
Yeah.
but some people's only cultural awareness of it is the dub and the very limited stuff we got from the dub. And like, it's just like, no, it's really like, I don't think people appreciate how like weird this thing is.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I got excited because I wanted, cool, now more people can see how
Yeah,
weird
no,
this thing is.
as
And it was
someone
not
who
weird.
was as someone who was also disappointed in Crystal, I feel ya. I will say that I think I stuck with it longer than you
You
did,
did.
and it does get better
Okay.
animation wise. They still are trying to be pretty all the time, but they're at least like willing to be at least a little bit goofy. It's not like it was never amazing, but it does get better.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Like
Uh
and I was thinking about this because they're doing the Sailor Moon Cosmos movie, the two-part movie, and that's adapting the last arc. And I'm like, oh no, the last arc is really weird. Oh, are you gonna sand the edges off that too? Please.
Yeah.
Like that has an ending where me and a friend like got into arguments about it for like 2 years.
Yeah.
um but like Spike, I feel you on I want original stuff. Like
Sadly, I'm trying. I'm
and
trying.
Andor is getting a lot of praise, and I'm like, everything people are saying about Andor sounds like a thing. It sounds like a thing I would really like, but I think I'm not going to watch it simply because it is a Star Wars.
And
Like
there's a flattening of the mainstream media
yeah.
sort of market, and there are I've talked about this before, but there are a lot of considerations that are going into the production of this media, and these considerations, primarily the linchpin is this needs to appeal to as many people as humanly possible. This needs to be able to be shown in China, and there are lots of
Yeah.
rules in China, things like that, and as a result, they how am I gonna say this? Uh, Disney, in my opinion, excels because they have formulas they are working from. They
Mhm.
excel in making palatable, okay entertainment. I
Mhm.
have watched a very limited amount of Disney stuff,
I've watched
but
most of it.
what I have watched feels
I'm banned from
pre
Disney trivia with the family.
predictable and safe and kind of like the media equivalent of oatmeal in that it'll fill you up and it might have some flavor to it, but there are about 10,000 other things I'd rather be eating.
Um,
I guess it just depends on what you're watching.
Yeah,
Like
it's just
I
people shit on some of the early Disney stuff, but it's pretty good.
and I have to
like
say this too, I recently watched Turning Red. I'm gonna just say that too, and I enjoyed Turning Red. I thought it was probably one of the better Disney films I've seen in the past 10 years. And one of the things I do admire is and this is specifically about Disney
uh
animation here. One of the
is
things I hold on, let me just get through this. Was there was a scene, anyone who watched Turning Red will be able to remember
The
it.
meme?
I don't know if it's a meme, but it was a scene when the girl, the main character, she is drawing in
The
her note
meme.
and,
yeah.
she draws the boy in the hat from the convenience
Excellent
store,
scene.
and it's clear that something in her just comes online at that
A
moment,
flip
and
got switched.
yeah, a switch got flipped. Yeah,
No, I said it right the first time.
and there is this sequence that I deeply admire where she puts the book away, sits on the floor, grabs the book, puts it away again, and then, like, falls over on her side, grabs the book, and rolls under her bed. And it is incredibly smooth and funny and well executed in a way that shows how detail-oriented and talented the people working on that film were, because any other animation team would have just had her, like, dive under the bed or something. But in this, they turned it into fucking poetry. They turned it into a beautiful physical comedy sequence that was incredibly unique. And that's the kind of shit where I'm all like, this is where Disney excels when they do stuff like that. And again, Turning Red was not like more of the fucking same. It wasn't a sequel, it wasn't a reboot. And it was really enjoyable to watch.
That
And there were moments there where I was looking through it going, I know what anime y'all are watching. And that was fun too. And again, it's one of those things where for the first fucking time ever, it's like there are girl relationships that were being depicted by Pixar, I think it was specifically, and it felt really authentic, and I really enjoyed that. Anyway, that's my opinion of Turning Red, thought it was great.
I was gonna say that Turning Red was Pixar, not Disney.
Yeah, it is Pixar, yeah.
well, Pixar's made
Uh
some stinkers, and here's
Oh,
what
for
yeah.
sure.
I always say
I
this, like, I
I
always take some of their crappier movies with a grain of salt because there's a part of me that goes, "I'm sorry, we have to get some cars, so they gotta make a bunch of cars so you can get a Turning Red."
Yeah,
I hate
yeah.
it,
um
but it is how it
I
is.
as a rule usually don't like Pixar movies. That's why I did not see Turning Red when it came out and did not seek it out. Um I still haven't seen it and I'll probably get around to watching it because everyone I know really likes it. Um
I
but
basically, if it's animated, I watch it. This is the creature I
um
am.
Mhm.
uh uh whereas I have just been like repeatedly like left cold by Pixar.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I get it.
in a way that I wasn't left cold by Disney, because usually when Disney had a shitty movie, that I at least had an emotional reaction to it. Like, even if I was like, "This is garbage and I hate it." Whereas it was kind of just nothing get
Mhm.
from Pixar. Um,
I get
but
that,
so then but yeah, so like I I understand like that I want new things. I'm really bummed that they canceled Inside Job on Netflix. I really liked that. Um
Yeah, I like that
and
too.
yeah, that was a good show. I'm so annoyed that they canceled it. I hope somewhere else picks it up.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
should say this, I have no it's like, I get people's issues with Netflix, I absolutely get it, but at least they'll try new fucking
not
things.
anymore.
Well, not
Not
well, okay,
anymore.
arguably not anymore, but, like, where else would Love, Death, and Robots and Beastars and a whole bunch of other stuff,
I
where
mean,
else would that be?
Beastars wasn't funded by Netflix.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Beastars was airing in Japan and Netflix just bought the rights to dub it.
Oh,
Like,
okay, that I
Yeah,
was
there's
not
a few
aware of.
things that they fund, and there's a few things. In fact, I don't like it when they fund things because then they go into the Netflix dungeon.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
They
like
go into the vault.
No,
so
it's a
the thing
dungeon.
Oh.
it's because they never release physical versions of the stuff that they put out.
Mhm, that's true.
Uh so
That's why usually there's like a
even
time. There's like a clock clicking in my
yeah.
head if they pick up an anime and they actually fund it. I'm like, oh god, I gotta watch this now.
Yeah, because so the one thing that I think Netflix is excelling at more so than other streaming services is because they push so hard worldwide. Um it is easier to watch stuff from different countries if Netflix gets the rights to it, to
Mhm.
dub it. Because um there's a bunch of shit on there from like Europe. There's a bunch of Chinese shows on there. There's a million K dramas on there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Like Kingdom, Kingdom's fucking great.
well, that's not a K drama, but that's
It's not?
a Korean production. K drama is
Very
like,
specific.
yeah, it's like their romantic comedy things.
Okay. But yeah, if you folks
Um,
haven't watched Kingdom, I know there's probably like 15 things on Netflix called Kingdom, but you're looking for the Korean one.
My
yeah.
whole thing is I watch because I am just a creature.
Mhm,
I watch everything that's animated basically. So if there is an animated movie that has come out, I've probably seen it.
mhm.
This is just how I am, and I think that's important to know as my friend.
yeah.
I've seen all the Despicable Me's.
Mhm.
I've
I
seen the
have
Minions movie.
I haven't seen any of those because they don't press my particular buttons, but
They
I'm
don't
glad they
press my
exist.
buttons either. I just saw
Yeah.
them. No, no, that's what I'm saying. I am a creature. These are not movies I like, but I will watch them
Yeah.
because I feel compelled. I have to. I must.
Mhm.
Um,
I watched The Good Dinosaur.
Uh-huh. I d I have, like
I don't know
I
what happened with that movie.
oh,
uh,
Disney is kind of alright, so anyone who is kind
That
of,
is a
like, part of
Pixar movie.
anyone who's part of, like, professional artist Twitter has been noticing a lot
I
of things
haven't
being
seen Arthur Christmas. That's on my list, though. I have a list of things that I've missed, and I'm circling back on it. Arthur Christmas is one of them.
there's a lot of things going on Twitter right now where a lot of artists are kind of unemployed, and a lot of that is due to a merger, but one of the things that makes me feel like I made the right choice in life and I didn't decide to, like, go to an animation school and try and get a job in a major corporation is I've mentioned this before, but the idea of putting 5 to 10 years of my life into something, and then somebody in a suit just picks up a phone and goes, "No," and then it's just all gone forever, it's a little more than I can fucking
Oh,
bear, and
that's
it's
still a
something.
reality, and I'm independent.
Yeah, but a lot of things like, that's something I couldn't fucking deal with, like, on on any
uh,
level, and there's a lot of people right now
we
who
get it. You're a precious princess.
I'm delicate, I'm a delicate wee
What's
princess,
it
and I
like to have a moment where you feel like made the right decision in life?
Amanda.
What's it
What's it like to
like?
be happy and have everything that you ever wanted?
What is it like
I
to be
assure you,
happy?
I did
Tell
not
me.
have everything I ever wanted,
I
trust me.
know, I just think it's
Uh,
funny.
Yeah. But it sucks. It looks like it fucking sucks being at the whim of a bunch of executives who you will never meet, who make all the decisions pertaining to all of your output. Fucking sucks. It sucks balls. But yeah.
Um,
I mean, I have zero
there
job
is
security. Most of my bills for this year are going to be paid making erotica, and any day
Mhm.
now, I just know I'm like any day now something is going to happen, and I will not be
Right.
able to do it.
the one sequel after decades that I am looking forward to
Mhm.
is History of the World Part 2.
Hmm.
Um uh Mel Brooks made a movie called History of the World Part 1, and there is a preview part 2 at the end of the movie as a joke.
Oh yeah, my
And
ex made me watch that.
Hulu is now funding Mel Brooks finally making History of the World Part 2. And I like Mel Brooks movies, so I will watch and I like history jokes, so I will watch it. Even if it's not good, I'll probably watch all of it.
Um,
Hmm.
that movie and a bunch of I think Monty Python movies are some that people kept telling me I had to see. I had to see. I was weird that I'd never seen it. And I finally saw them, and I was just quietly like, okay.
It's weird that people told you to watch History of the World Part 1 because I feel like that's one that people don't usually reference as far
I
as Mel
had enough
Brooks.
friends to do it that I finally got to sit down with my ex and some other friends, and I was just like, oh.
Mhm.
And then Monty Python, same thing. I was just like, finally got sat down with that, and I was like,
Like, I
oh.
understand why people would be like, "Oh, you haven't seen Monty Python," but, yeah, I don't hear that many people talk
It must have
about.
just been the circle I'm in, or the circles I
Yeah.
was in, I guess. I don't see none of those people
Um,
anymore.
cause yeah,
Nobody's touching me anymore.
cause, cause the Mel Brooks movies that people usually reference are Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, and they usually don't go further than that when they're talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah, that's
uh,
fair, but it happened.
Mhm.
yeah. Um,
But yeah. It is coming up on
No,
10 p.m. Yes. It's
no.
coming up on 10 p.m. and I am still mildly nauseous like I've been all day. And if it's okay
Get
with
high
y'all,
and make a nest.
I do not get high, but I will probably make a nest. I would
Fair
like to
enough.
call it quits if y'all are cool with calling it quits.
yeah,
I'm
that's fine
not.
with me.
Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for coming. Please remember to like and subscribe. I am Spike. You can find me on Twitter at iron_spike. I run Iron Circus Comics. You can find that on Twitter at Iron Circus Comics with comics spelled Comix. We are having a huge scratch and ding sale right now. We are constantly unpacking new books to put in the shop, but they go fast. If there's any you tried to buy, but it looked like we were out of stock, check again. We might have found some more. You can find me personally, Spike, on Pillow Fort and also on co-host at Iron Spike, all one word. I upload comics there. On Pillow Fort is Blacada, my comic about Keebler elves who kill people. And on co-host is my comic Ordinary, which is about two monsters who are friends.
I make comics that you can read at kelmcdonald.com. They're about gay werewolves in the future. I also make a comic that you can read on my Patreon. That's patreon.com/kelmcdonald. It's called You're the Chosen One, and about 23 kids that get the same prophecy dream telling them they're the chosen one. I am on a bunch of social medias that are all linked on my website. There's too many social medias. And I stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So you should follow me on Twitch at Kel McDonald at twitch.tv/Kel McDonald. And you should go sign up to get notified when Failure to Launch goes live on BackerKit crowdfunding wise.
I'm Amanda Lafrene, AMANDALAFRENAIS.com. That's where my stuff is. And I already regret 50% of the things I said